On a quiet autumn morning, police received a call from Willow Street, an ordinary neighborhood known more for morning jogs than flashing lights. Inside a modest two-story home, 34-year-old Daniel Moore was found lifeless in his living room. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no struggle that neighbors could recall hearing. The house looked untouched, almost carefully preserved, as if whatever happened had been planned to leave no trace. Daniel lived alone and worked as an insurance analyst. To the outside world, he was routine, predictable, and quiet. He paid his bills on time, greeted neighbors politely, and rarely had visitors. Yet investigators immediately sensed something was wrong. His phone, wallet, and laptop were missing, but expensive items like his television and watch were untouched. This didn't look like a robbery. The time of death was estimated to be late the previous night. Neighbors reported seeing the lights on well past midnight, something Daniel never did. No one heard arguing. No one saw anyone enter or leave. It was as if the killer walked in unseen and vanished the same way. Police secured the scene, unaware that this case would soon become one of the town's most haunting mysteries. A man dead in his own home, with no witnesses, no clear motive, and no obvious suspect. What happened inside that house on Willow Street would remain unanswered for years. As investigators dug into Daniel Moore's life, they realized how little people actually knew him. Coworkers described him as polite but distant. He avoided office gossip and never spoke about his personal life. He had no known enemies, no criminal record, and no history of violence. His social circle was painfully small. Daniel's family lived out of state. According to them, he had grown more withdrawn in the last year. Calls became shorter. Visits stopped entirely. When asked why, Daniel would simply say he was busy. But busy with what? No one could answer that. Police examined his finances and found something strange. Several weeks before his death, Daniel withdrew large sums of cash, money that was never recovered. There were also late-night calls from an unknown number that stopped abruptly 3 days before the murder. The phone itself was gone, taking potential answers with it. Friends were few, relationships non-existent, and his digital footprint oddly clean. No suspicious messages. No angry emails. No obvious trail. It was as if Daniel had erased parts of his life before someone erased him. The deeper investigators looked, the more unsettling it became. A man who existed yet left almost nothing behind. And that raised one terrifying question. Was Daniel hiding from someone? Or preparing for something? Forensic teams worked tirelessly inside the Willow Street house. Fingerprints were lifted. Fibers were collected. Footprints near the back door were photographed. Yet none of it led anywhere solid. The prints didn't match anyone in the system. The fibers were common household material. Even DNA samples came back inconclusive. The lack of forced entry suggested Daniel knew his killer, or at least trusted them enough to open the door. But interviews with neighbors revealed no regular visitors. No romantic partners. No friends stopping by late at night. Security cameras from nearby houses were reviewed, but gaps in footage left investigators frustrated. One camera malfunctioned that night. Another was pointed slightly away from Daniel's driveway. A car was seen passing through the street around midnight, but the license plate was unreadable. Police began to consider the possibility of a planned, targeted killing, one designed to leave behind confusion instead of clues. Someone who understood routines. Someone patient. As weeks turned into months, leads dried up. Media attention faded. The case grew colder with every passing day. Evidence sat boxed in storage, waiting for a moment that never came. The house on Willow Street was eventually sold. Life moved on, but the unanswered questions remained, trapped in reports, photographs, and the silence of a man who never got to explain his own story. With no arrests and no clear suspect, theories began to surface. Some believed Daniel was involved in something illegal, perhaps financial fraud or blackmail, that ended violently. Others suggested a secret relationship gone wrong. A few thought the missing phone held the key to everything. One theory pointed to the withdrawn cash. Was Daniel paying someone, or planning to disappear himself? Another theory focused on the unknown number that called him repeatedly at night. Attempts to trace it failed. It was either unregistered or intentionally masked. Online forums dissected the case, turning speculation into obsession. Armchair detectives debated timelines, analyzed floor plans, and scrutinized every release detail. But none of it brought answers. What disturbed people most was how clean the crime was. No chaos, no panic, just silence. That suggested control, precision, someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Every cold case has a moment where it stops being active and becomes history. For Daniel Moore, that moment came quietly, when investigators had to admit they were out of leads. Years later, Daniel Moore's murder remains unsolved. No arrests, no confessions, no closure. His name exists now only in files and memories, another cold case waiting for the right moment or the right person to bring it back to life. Cold cases don't mean forgotten cases. Sometimes they wait. They wait for technology to improve, for someone to talk, for guilt to become heavier than silence. Somewhere, someone knows what happened inside that house on Willow Street. Until then, the truth remains locked away, hidden behind a door that was opened once and never truly closed again. And the question still lingers. How does someone get murdered in their own home without leaving a single answer behind?